Hi, I'm Dwayne. We specialise in brick paving and retaining walls. Today we're going to show you a few steps how to progress and do some brick paving. We'll probably look at retaining walls another time, but the first steps seriously is the base preparation. It should always be level. Make sure that you've dug out and got a good subgrade as well, because that'll only reflect on the job in the future. There's probably about 6 main steps. The first one being the preparation. You need a good compacted road base. Recommend about 100mm thick minimum. These are rails or strips, they call them. These are what most tradesmen will use to put on a level pad which the boys have already set up there. So we will lay them down on the ground and put a screed on top of these and use them like train tracks and pull the screed across, and that will give you a really nice even level. And then once the screed is level, the pavers dictates the finished height. Then we'll start setting out the pavers. You must use your string lines when you set your square up to set up your paving. Put them on the right angles at the 90 degree as well. 1 every metre is a good rule. That's very important. Today we're going to be laying 400 by 400 Rockblock pavers. So they can only be laid usually in one way, and that's in a stack bond. Leave about 2 to 3 mil gap between the paving, never butt joint them together. You need to get some sand between the product. You must use a Nico pen to mark your cuts in, or a pencil washes off. You must use a wet brick saw to cut the pavers. When you're getting down to your edging, the normal paving way is on a 45 degree, and it's called a haunch, and it should go right down into the base, that edge, and then your grass or your landscape should buff up against that. When you're making up your grout sand, which is your stabilised sand, it is a 10-to-1 mix, and what that means is 10 shovelfuls of sand to 1 part of cement. So that's how you get your 10-to-1 mix. Mix that through thoroughly. Just make sure it's a thorough mix and done right, and that's all you need, and that's a stabilised sand, and Bricky's loam preferred, or a fine white sand is also no worries at all. But don't ever use bedding sand. When you spread your sand out we do a 10-to-1 mix, you must spread it through. Use the back of the broom to push all the sand around before you start sweeping it in, because if you just sweep it in with the broom itself, it tends to get crusty on the top and not get right down into the base. So you must, the sand should get under the paving and sort of also cradle it before you whacker pack it. Now the first step of whacker packing is, it's actually a plate compactor, but the old term's just called a whacker packer. They're a flat plate compactor. Some have a dish on the base and some have a completely flat. You sweep the sand in thoroughly until it doesn't absorb any more in the surface, and then you should go over it with a plate compactor with a nice piece of thick carpet or reasonably thick carpet, and that's applied on the base of the compactor. And then you go over it several times, up and down and across, whichever shape the paving is, and don't be afraid, go over it a few more times than necessary. Obviously your edge restraints are in at this time, and they are going to stop the paving from pushing out, and they must be in and they must be dry. And then you've gone over it with the whacker packer, and then you sweep in again with the 10-to-1 mix, and that should all drop down to the ground. The whacker packer knocks all that sand in around the base and cradles all that paving and locks it in. And your final sweep in is the finished sweep in. You get it in, you spend time on the sweeping in. It's an important part of the job as well. Make sure all those joints are full, and you just can't go wrong. When you hose it, that will also drop to the bottom, so a little bit of the surface sand that's left from when you're hosing in, you just keep pushing that around and letting it filter into the gaps after that. And then once it's all hosed in, that's about all you have to do. You just make sure it's clean. Capricorn Rockblock have quite a few blocks now. They're making new blocks all the time. They're very innovative, and we're happy to always go with their products because they're nice and true and they have a lot of good colours. So if you ever need any advice, you can call us guys at home, or feel free to ring Capricornia Rockblock there at Parkhurst. The staff will be happy to help you out, and if one of the reps or the boys want to come out and give you some info, they'll also be happy to do that. All right, thank you.